I never thought I would do any sort of ranking video because the idea of me doing them gives me anxiety. I just can't choose. But the day has come and I'm doing it all because of Megan's Makeup Musings. She did a ranking video earlier this year. She didn't do it in the traditional sense of favorites. She did it by usage. And I thought when I was watching the video and she mentioned it, I thought that was brilliant. I thought at that time, perhaps there's a loophole for me. So this ranking video is solely because of Megan's Makeup Musings. I will link that particular video in the description box below so you can go check her out if you're interested. But then I thought about ranking by usage. With the Mcgrath Mothership palettes, I have not used them religiously in a while, so I felt like it was not appropriate for my situation. I also am not in a habit of keeping count of my palettes that I use or how many times I use the shade, so I made a mental note. Perhaps towards the end of the year I may be able to do ranking by usage, but through the inspiration I decided, how about ranking by looks? Throughout this month, when I created a look with each Mothership, I created a look using shades that I was drawn to in the palette, and also I kept in mind where am I going and also my preference. I haven't been into bold looks. I've been into demure, toned down looks. So that all played a part in what looks I created. I thought it would be easier. But when I looked at all the looks that I created and remembering the feeling that each look each day elicited, it was harder than I thought. Since I wore the look hours after I created the look on video, I was able to experience different stages of that look. Did it crease? Did I have a fallout? How did it wear throughout the day? And I used that to determine how I would rank the looks and the palettes. It was still hard because all the looks I created, I enjoyed. I have all 10 palettes here and I stacked them in the order that they will be ranked in. I currently have Mothership 1 through 10. I don't have Mothership 11 or 12. Mothership 11 I purchased in the past, did not enjoy it, so I decluttered it. The newest Mothership Petamorphosis. I am undecided whether I want it or not. I am not in a rush because it's a permanent palette. So eventually, if I feel the need, like I need another Mothership palette, if I feel like I would like to experience it, then perhaps. But as of right now, my interest in Mothership 12 is not as high as it was when I saw it initially revealed, and I feel okay about that. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything, but I have enjoyed watching many videos on it from other content creators. Coming in at number 10, Mothership 9, Utopian Dream. I do really enjoy this Mothership. Shockwave is my favorite shade in this palette. The look I created, I think I went in with this shade, and then the sparkles, these two. Astro Venusian Orchid and Astro Amethyst Moon. Amethyst Amethyst Moon and Venusian Orchid. It was beautiful to start off. Beautiful sparkles. Fairies dancing on my lids. Throughout the day when I wore it, I didn't have much fallout, and I used the Pat McGrath Artistry Wand. That's a semi-sticky base. It's not as strong or sticky as maybe the NYX glitter glue or the Divina specular glue base. And on initial application, these two shades applied beautifully. I love the outcome of the look. But going back to wearing it throughout the day, the sparkles decided to go on an adventure that I did not approve of. I was not notified, and they wandered off all over my cheeks, all over my face. I love sparkles right here. I'm okay with sparkles other places if that was what I was going for. That was not what I was going for. The sparkles were supposed to stay right there, but they traveled. It was a mess. It was bad. It was bad. So the base I used could be one of the reasons. Perhaps the amount of product I took off the shadows in comparison to how much of the base was on my lid. Also, I considered my mobile lids. As they move, flakes could fall off. So that perhaps contributed to it as well. Although I've worn those two shades before, I've never worn them solely on their own without any shimmer laid down and then use them as just slight toppers. Those two shades, surprisingly, are not in my top favorites from this palette. They're flakier than her usual baked shades, and when I've worn them in the past, it's always been lightly as a topper, a glimmer of sparkle. So you live, you learn. I will experiment in the future different ways of using them, but till then I will probably keep using them like I usually do and not like I previously just did when I created a look on its day this month. Coming in at number 9 is Mothership IV Decadence. This is what it looks like. I'm still slightly undecided on their placements because, again, all the looks, I enjoyed all the looks, but they had to be placed somewhere. The look I created with this palette was one of my favorite looks. All of them were favorites except for that Utopian Dream Sparkle Adventure. It was a look that usually I may deem it as a smoky, dark look, but I was able to not build up the intensity as much to get to that point of smoky, in addition to adding some other shades that were lighter to make it much more toned down to my preference at the time. I did use Underworld as a liner, and then Dark Mink. It can be really smoky depending on how much you build it up, but I created a semi halo look and used it on the inner and outer corners slightly. I also used Inferno, one of my favorite shades from this palette, Sterling as well. I did enjoy that look. There's nothing else for me to say. I've already recorded the last video in this series, and when I was recording it, a thought came to mind. So in that video, it was the first time I thought about it. this video, I'm piggybacking on that thought. I wondered, keeping petal morphosis in mind with the green in that palette, it would have been nice if we got a green in this palette versus having the two blues. Although I know Sublime, the palette number 2, Mothership 2, that came before this one, had a green. So at the time I can see one thinking, we already have a green in a palette already. Why do so? But jewels, if this was a standalone palette, if this was the one palette the person has and they enjoy green, it would have been nice, wouldn't it? It would have been nice to have a green. This is a sparkly blue. This is a satin blue. I would have given up Underworld for sparkly green, rich green that has the same sparkle finish as this, or even sparklier, versus, see how Underworld is. Coming in at number 8 is Midnight Sun. I will insert a picture of Midnight Sun. I don't want to show you my progress in this palette so far because it's the palette that I have in my Project Panda palette. So no spoilers. The look I created, I went for Blood Moon 005 and then I used Blitz Violet Orchid in the inner corner. Something different, something that although I've done in the past, it's not my usual go-to look from this palette. Throughout this series, I kept in mind creating variety of looks because from each palette I could create something similar and they all start looking the same. So I kept that in mind because I didn't want that to happen. And that is why I did that unique violet inner corner. Coming in at number 7 is Subversive, Mothership 3. That's a sigh of awe, by the way. I'm speechless. I will sound like a broken record. These are all beautiful. The looks are gorgeous. I enjoyed using these palettes and rediscovering them. When I was going through and deciding which look I wanted to place with the ranking, I saw the look that I created with Subversive, and for a second I was confused because that look can be mistaken for something that Decadence could create. The silver in there and the gold. I had to go rewatch the video for Subversive the day I did the look to make sure that was the right look for this palette, as in I labeled the look correctly, and it is. The look at first looked golden, olive golden, and then silver around the crease, on top of it, crease area. And after watching that video, I realized it was Blitz Amethyst that I used, but because of the way the light was hitting it when I took the photo, it gave off silvery tone. So this is what it looks like. It has that blue purple shift, but I diffused the shade on my lids so much that when I took the picture, the true shade of the shadow was kind of lost. It's good to have that variety, but perhaps not as good if this is what you're actually going for. So I could have built up that shade, but I don't regret the look. I like how the look turned out, although it did not rank higher. One of my favorite looks. At number 6 is Divine Rose 2. Rose Seduction. It's not my initial go-to shade, so it distracts me whenever I open this palette. It's loud. and I use it sometimes as a blush, but I don't reach for it a lot. Naked Blush is beautiful. Use it as a blush and as an eyeshadow. In the look, I use VR Sextraterrestrial, which is a shade that I use 90% of the time when I go into this palette. That's the shade I go for. It's a beautiful look. I really enjoyed that look. It reminded me of those indie shadows from Terra Moon's Divina, Cleona. That shift. And each brand has a shadow that has that pink, purple, green, yellow shift. It's just this shade and the smoothness of it. It does not have chunky sparkles or distinct sparkles in them, but it is distinct enough that it doesn't need the extra sparkles. This is the type of formula that I have grown to appreciate. When I got into indie shadows, the flashy, sparkly shadows, I really was going for not just this, but the extra sparkles. In daylight, different lighting, you can see the little sparkles dancing on your lids. I like the smoothness and the shift, but the shift is not loud. It's not too bold. It is there, but toned down. It reminds me, not the shift, but that feeling of I have a shift, but it's toned down. Hyperion from Terra Moon. It has that green, yellow taupey look to it. Hyperion. But they're not the same shift. It's just the formula and the degree of boldness. Not that high, not that low, just in the lower end, but my preference at this time. Which reminds me, I may pull out Hyperion and use off on a tangent. My heart is excited right now because that look brought me so much joy. I am glad I'm using what I have and rediscovering lost favorites, lost shades that I enjoyed. And at number 5, which I just realized, number 5 is Mothership 5 Bronze Seduction. When I looked back at the looks I created throughout the series using these palettes, I realized in my attempt to create different looks, I somehow gravitated towards similar, not exact, similar looks between Mothership 5 and Mothership 6 Midnight Sun. I used Blitz Flame and then Rose Gold 005. These two. I think I used other shades, but these are the two standouts that were playing on my lids for that look. Although Blitz Flame is bold, I applied it lightly. I did not apply it to this degree of pigmentation. And then of course, I still love my sparkles, but I'm appreciating shades like this formula wise more. This is Rose Gold, right? Rose Gold 005. Beautiful, but you can see the sparkle. And if I blended it out, the base shade kind of disappears. Yeah, and you see mostly the sparkles. Drawing inspiration from Mariam A, I'm gonna give you a, she coined this term, I did not, so credits to her. A sparkle moment. Look at that, look at that. It's like sunlight dancing on water. This is beautiful. And then you can see the shift of the VR Extraterrestrial. Beautiful. Gorgeous. At number 4 is Mothership 1 Subliminal. I thought this would be number 1. I had a phase, I still do. It's not as strong. I had a phase where it was just cool tone. That's what I wanted. I want all the grays, the taupe, those kind of cool tone. This is a Mothership that when I open and look at it, just the sight of it, the color story, brings me joy. It makes me happy. Something inside me lights up. I was gonna say if I had to keep this and that, but we're not gonna go there. Maybe sometime in the future, I will do a video on that, but let's not entertain that idea. I have 10, I like my 10. I enjoyed the look that I created with this palette. VR Violet was the star of the show. The mattes. There's Extreme Black, which is in the first 3 Motherships, but this shade here, Depth and Ultimate Taupe, are my most used. Occasionally I might dip into this, but this is for my skin tone, a good balance between Ultimate Taupe and Extreme Black. Enjoyed this shade. The standout for me was VR Violet. It also shifts. It looks bluish purple here, but when it shifts, see the pink orange, and I'll swatch it here. Ay, ay, ay. At the end, I'll do a sparkle moment, but I had to put it somewhere. Coming in at number 3 is Mothership 2 Sublime. And if you watched the video for this palette, on the day this palette was used during this series, you would have known I only used this shade, Blitz Emerald. So one could say this was solely because of the green that it ranked higher. It's not lost to me that this green being bold and loud to my psyche whenever I open this palette contributed to me using it and also distracting from appreciating the rest of this palette. Although I enjoyed the rest of the palette, Blitz Emerald. Blitz Emerald. Luxie Beauty is no longer a brand, but Luxie Beauty Rage, R-A-G-E, and Chantecaille Luminescent Eye Shade. It's a limited edition, but some of you may have it. Tiger is a dupe for Blitz Emerald. Now, the formulas are different. Tiger from Chantecaille is closest to the Pat McGrath Blitz Emerald. Rage from Luxie is just a traditional, not just as in to devalue it, no, it's a traditional shimmery shadow. All 3 are equally beautiful and I enjoy them. Should we, since we're going to do a sparkle moment at the end, oh my god, this is, and also they all shift, all the 3, the other 2 shadows from different brands that I named and Blitz Emerald, they have that green, but they shift purple. And when I do the sparkle moment, you'll get to see it. I'll blend it out a little bit here to see. As I blend, you'll see that dark base. It's diffused, but you can see it concentrated here. And maybe a little bit of the purple up here. Which one do you think is my number 1? guess. At number 2 is Mothership 10 Moonlit Seduction. If I were just to look at the color story, I probably would not have ranked it at number 2. But since I'm solely ranking by looks that I created using the palettes, it's ranking higher. The look I created used Platinum Dusk and VR Sextasy. VR Sextasy is a transformative shade. It's a multi-chrome. That's it here. From my angle, I see pink, purple, and on camera, I see the green shift. See how, because of the combination of shimmers that are in it, or the formulation of the shadow with the colors, it somewhat disappears on my skin tone depending on the angle, which means the base of the shade is closest to my skin tone. So someone that's lighter, significantly lighter than me, you may be able to see the base much more against your skin tone. But since the base, if any, is close to my skin tone absorbs that shade and it seems like it disappears. You see the sparkles. This is Divina Galaxy Dusters. I think Mercier. There's another shade. They're all in the same color family and shift. I will also blend it a little bit for the sparkle moment later. I knew how much VR Sextasy could take over the whole show, so I decided to apply Platinum Dusk as the star of the show and then a little bit of VR Sextasy on top. But VR Sextasy on that look was not going to be outshined. So unintentionally, from my end, but from its end, took over the show. At number 1, one that many might deem boring, the most boring of them all, Mothership 7 Divine Rose. When I do open this palette, I don't think boring, I think safe. I think everyday tones for me. I think effortless, mistake proof, whimsical, ethereal. It's a beautiful, safe palette, comfort zone palette, and that's not bad. I love that. A standout for me is whenever I've reached into this palette, because that's what I'm wanting, the look I create far exceeds what I thought I was going to get from this palette. That look, classy. I felt like I was at a ball or something. That's the eye look. It was not over the top and it was not barely there. It was just perfect. I felt great. I felt beautiful when I saw the final look. Simple, elevated, quiet luxury, one could say. I don't know what else to say. Gorgeous. But a final sparkle moment. There they are from this angle. Don't they look like stars in the sky, twinkling? The sunlight dancing on water. Let me see, different angles here. There. maybe from here. Gorgeous. A special thank you to Megan's Makeup Musings for inspiring me and giving me a different way of approaching ranking videos. Now, many may have done this in the past, but she was the first person I saw rank by usage that inspired me to do this, and also made me feel like I could do this. I could rank by usage or by looks. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and while you're here, if you have not subscribed, I would love for you to consider subscribing. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in my next video.